Let's bring in former FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett. Brad, thanks for joining us. We just heard about those potential missed warning signs from Matt Gutman there, who spoke to the accused shooter's grandfather. Bottom line, does our nation's law enforcement have the right resources to find and monitor people who might be showing concerning signs of violence?
The short answer is no, Lindsay. I mean, think about it. The number of people that say hateful, violent things on the internet, maybe even to classmates, most of those don't end up being mass shooters. However, there's a cumulative effect of mass shooters in what they say, in particular as they get closer to committing the shooting. And this shooter, I think, exactly fits that model. The real issue, of course, is law enforcement didn't know about it. They don't have the capability, obviously, of monitoring literally millions of people on social media. And they have to rely on the community, the folks at the school, the teachers, people this kid knew in school, out of school. People had pieces of information about him. And you have to tell somebody. It becomes a ticklish subject because you get into the First Amendment, obviously. You can say many hateful things, but when they cross a line, you've potentially committed a crime. But that's how we investigate these. And that's also how you help troubled kids that maybe could be on their way to being a mass shooter, but you head them in a different direction. And so that's why threat assessment teams in schools are so vital. But the one problem with this shooter is apparently he wasn't in school at the time this occurred. He had dropped out. So that net of folks that would have seen him day in and day out, possibly noting deterioration, hearing comments from kids about what they're seeing, what he's saying, so forth, could possibly have gotten law enforcement in front of him. But it's certainly not an ideal system. But that's kind of where we are. It's obvious to me we're not going to do a whole lot about guns, in particular in Texas. And so we're going to have to rely on each other to share information with law enforcement.
And there's been a lot of talk about red flag laws, something in effect in 19 states across the country. That law prevents anyone showing signs of being a threat to themselves or others from buying or owning any kind of firearm. This could be a bipartisan avenue. How effective are red flag laws, would you say?
Well, I think they can be. Again, you have to go and get a court order from a judge justifying that this person is a harm to themselves or others. It takes a fair amount of investigation. To your point earlier about is law enforcement really equipped to do a lot of this? Maybe equipped, but don't have the manpower or the time to do it. These can be time-consuming investigations, gathering enough information to convince a judge that this kid is maybe a threat to himself or others. I do think you probably could have done that with him, but who's going to do it, and maybe more importantly, who knew to do it?
And we learned today that the gunman warned about the shooting in private messages on Facebook minutes beforehand and also posted disturbing pictures. How can people on the receiving end of these messages react? What would be the appropriate method for them to respond to this?
Clearly, Lindsay, they needed to have called law enforcement immediately and say, this kid, I know him, he's at this location. You've got a small town, so easy to find him, of course. And they probably could have stopped it. I mean, we had the same problem in Buffalo, different circumstances, but you had a shooter at the Tops Market who live streamed. There were actually people watching him do what he was doing. And I haven't heard one thing that any of them reported. This is about education. It's about convincing people, look, the government's not out to seize your guns. They're not out to do anything but maybe stop violence. And you, the public, you, the parents, really have to help us stop them. That's the real issue.
Brad Garrett, our thanks to you as always for your time and insight.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.